Silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the loudest answer to situations that demand reflection, patience, and composure. In a world where we are constantly bombarded by noise, expectations, and demands for instant responses, the power of silence becomes our greatest ally. Sometimes, silence is the strongest form of communication we can offer. When faced with conflict or negativity, the temptation to respond in anger or frustration can be overwhelming. But when we choose to remain silent, we exercise control over our emotions, giving ourselves the space to think, reflect, and respond with purpose rather than reaction. Silence, in these moments, becomes a display of strength, not weakness. Silence is often misunderstood in a world that prizes communication, noise, and constant interaction. Yet, the power of silence lies in its ability to convey messages more clearly and profoundly than any words could ever express. In moments of quiet, we often find the space to process thoughts, connect with our emotions, and understand the truth of situations in a way that is impossible amid the chaos of constant conversation. Silence is not the absence of communication, but rather the presence of awareness, control, and wisdom. At its core, silence is a powerful tool of emotional regulation. It is the ability to choose when and how to respond to the world around us. In moments of tension, conflict, or anger, our instincts often urge us to speak, to defend ourselves, or to react in ways that feel immediate. However, choosing silence in these moments is a reflection of strength, not weakness. When we remain silent, we give ourselves the opportunity to pause, to process, and to reflect. It is a deliberate decision to not let the emotional tides control our actions, but instead to take control over our own response. Silence is a decision to act with clarity rather than impulsivity, and in doing so, we gain control over our emotions rather than allowing them to control us. In many situations, the absence of words speaks louder than anything we could say. When we choose silence, we often convey a sense of inner peace, confidence, and composure. It is a declaration that we are not shaken by external noise or provocation. It says that we understand the value of space, space to think, space to breathe, and space to make decisions based on what is truly important, rather than on the fleeting emotions of the moment. In moments of disagreement or confrontation, silence can disarm the intensity of the situation, allowing us to step back and consider the broader perspective before reacting. When we speak out of anger or frustration, we often regret our words, but in silence, we can avoid saying things that would later be difficult to take back. Moreover, silence teaches us the value of listening. In a world filled with constant chatter, we often forget that communication is not just about speaking, it is equally about listening. True understanding arises from listening with intent, and silence allows us to hear not just the words that are spoken, but the emotions and intentions behind them. When we stop speaking, we create the space for others to express themselves fully. We also create the space to listen to our own inner voice, allowing us to hear the deeper truths that often go unnoticed in the noise of everyday life. This listening can deepen our relationships, enhance our decision making, and allow us to connect with others on a much more meaningful level. Silence also empowers us to reconnect with our inner selves. In the hustle and bustle of life, we are often distracted by external pressures, expectations, and the constant barrage of information that demands our attention. Silence, in contrast, offers us the opportunity to reconnect with who we truly are, our thoughts, our beliefs, and our desires. It is in silence that we can reflect on our actions, evaluate our goals, and align ourselves with our true purpose. In the absence of external noise, we hear our own thoughts clearly, and it is in this clarity that we can find direction and peace. Beyond emotional control and self-reflection, silence is also a tool for wisdom and leadership. In many situations, the best response is not to say something, but to remain silent. Silence in leadership does not indicate a lack of authority or direction, but rather demonstrates wisdom and thoughtfulness. Leaders who speak too quickly or too often risk sounding impulsive, whereas those who take the time to listen and reflect before responding are often seen as more grounded, knowledgeable, and decisive. Silence allows leaders to assess a situation from all angles, to consider the needs of their team, and to offer solutions that are measured and well considered. It is in those moments of quiet reflection that the best decisions are often made. This wisdom extends to the way silence can be used in conflict resolution. When faced with a difficult situation or a heated disagreement, our initial impulse may be to argue, defend our position, or challenge others. However, silence can be an incredibly effective tool for de-escalating tension. By choosing not to react immediately, we avoid adding fuel to the fire. Silence gives us the time to reflect on the issue at hand, consider the other person's perspective, and ultimately respond in a way that is both constructive and calm. It shows emotional maturity and an understanding that some issues require more than just a quick verbal response. They require careful thought and reflection. Furthermore, silence can be a sign of respect. When we remain silent in the presence of others, especially when they are speaking, we show that we value their words and their perspective. Silence in these moments is a way of honoring others and acknowledging that their thoughts are important. It also fosters an environment of openness and mutual respect, where people feel heard and understood rather than dismissed or interrupted. In relationships, whether personal or professional, silence can be a powerful form of communication, one that strengthens bonds and deepens trust. In our modern world, where the pressure to constantly communicate and be heard is ever present, silence becomes a radical act of reclaiming control over our own space and our own peace. It is a reminder that not every moment requires a response, not every situation requires an explanation, and not every conflict requires an argument. Sometimes the most profound thing we can do is to remain silent, to step back from the noise, and to let our actions and intentions speak louder than words ever could. Emotional intelligence, EI, often referred to as emotional quotient, EQ, is the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and influence emotions, both our own and those of others. In a world where emotions play a significant role in how we connect, communicate, and navigate our daily lives, emotional intelligence has become one of the most important aspects of personal and professional success. Unlike traditional forms of intelligence, which are based on logic, reasoning, and academic knowledge, emotional intelligence focuses on the subtler aspects of human interaction, such as empathy, self-awareness, and emotional regulation. It is the capacity to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically, and to remain aware of the emotional dynamics at play in any given situation. At the foundation of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, the ability to recognize and understand one's own emotions. Self-awareness is about being in tune with how we feel in any given moment and understanding the effect that our emotions have on our thoughts, behaviors, and decision-making. This awareness allows us to understand our emotional triggers, which can be particularly valuable when dealing with stress, frustration, or conflict. When we can identify and name our emotions, we are better equipped to manage them and to avoid reacting impulsively. Self-awareness is not just about recognizing negative emotions, but also about understanding our positive emotions and how they motivate us. It helps us know when we are operating at our best and when we may be experiencing emotional imbalances that require attention. The next pillar of emotional intelligence is self-regulation, which refers to the ability to control or redirect disruptive emotions and impulses. Self-regulation is essential for maintaining calm and composure in stressful situations and for making thoughtful decisions, especially when faced with challenges or emotional turbulence. It involves not just restraining from impulsive actions, but also channeling one's emotions in a productive and healthy direction. For example, instead of letting anger or frustration boil over in a confrontation, a person with high emotional intelligence will take a moment to breathe, think, and respond in a calm and constructive manner. Self-regulation allows us to avoid rash decisions, maintain control in difficult moments, and reduce the likelihood of experiencing regret or negative consequences later on. It's not about suppressing emotions, but about having the maturity to manage them in a way that aligns with our long-term goals and values. Empathy is another critical component of emotional intelligence, and it is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Empathy allows us to step into someone else's shoes and see the world from their perspective. It involves not just recognizing someone's emotional state, but also being able to respond appropriately to it. When we are empathetic, we create stronger connections with others because we make them feel heard, understood, and validated. Empathy plays a crucial role in building trust and rapport in both personal and professional relationships. It allows leaders to motivate their teams, parents to nurture their children, and friends to support each other in times of need. Without empathy, communication can become shallow and misunderstandings can arise. When we fail to empathize with others, we risk coming across as cold or indifferent, which can damage relationships and hinder cooperation. The fourth component of emotional intelligence is social skills, which are the ability to build and maintain healthy relationships, navigate social networks, and interact effectively with others. Social skills encompass a wide range of abilities, such as effective communication, conflict resolution, collaboration, and influencing others. People with strong social skills can easily connect with others, create positive environments, and foster productive teamwork. They are able to manage and resolve conflicts by understanding the emotional needs and perspectives of everyone involved, and they know how to bring out the best in others through encouragement and collaboration. In both the workplace and personal life, social skills are crucial for building networks, resolving disagreements, and leading teams. People with high emotional intelligence excel in these areas because they understand the emotional dynamics of the situation and can navigate them with tact and sensitivity. One of the key benefits of emotional intelligence is its impact on leadership. Leaders with high emotional intelligence are often able to inspire and motivate others more effectively than those who rely solely on their technical expertise or intellectual ability. Emotional intelligence enables leaders to understand the emotions of their team members, which in turn allows them to respond to their needs and concerns with empathy and support. By recognizing and addressing the emotional dynamics within their teams, emotionally intelligent leaders create environments where people feel valued, heard, and empowered to contribute their best work. They also know how to manage their own emotions, which helps them maintain composure and make thoughtful decisions, even in high-pressure situations. This balance of self-awareness, self-regulation, and empathy is what makes emotionally intelligent leaders stand out and succeed in the long term. Emotional intelligence is also vital for personal growth and well-being. It helps individuals develop healthier relationships, cope with stress, and achieve a greater sense of fulfillment in life. Those with high emotional intelligence are better equipped to manage the challenges of life, whether they are personal or professional. Because they are more self-aware and able to regulate their emotions, they are less likely to be overwhelmed by stress or negativity. They are also more likely to engage in positive behaviors, such as seeking help when needed, setting and achieving personal goals, and maintaining a positive outlook, By understanding and managing their emotions, individuals can improve their overall well-being and lead more fulfilling lives. Moreover, emotional intelligence is linked to better decision making. When we are aware of our emotions, we can consider them in our decision-making processes, helping us to make choices that are not just rational, but also aligned with our values and long-term objectives. In contrast, decisions made in emotional turmoil often lead to regret or poor outcomes. Emotional intelligence provides the foundation for making thoughtful, measured decisions, whether we are choosing a career path, managing finances, or handling relationships. In relationships, emotional intelligence helps to build a deeper understanding of ourselves and others, allowing for better communication and a more profound sense of connection. Being able to navigate the emotional landscape of relationships helps us resolve conflicts, foster trust, and ensure that we engage with others in a way that is both respectful and supportive. In the workplace, emotional intelligence is critical for teamwork, customer service, and leadership, as it fosters collaboration, enhances communication, and reduces interpersonal conflict. It is no wonder that emotional intelligence is increasingly recognized as a key factor in professional success, with employers seeking individuals who not only possess technical skills, but also the ability to work well with others, handle stress, and demonstrate empathy. Overall, emotional intelligence is a critical skill set that influences every aspect of our lives, from our interactions with others to the way we make decisions and navigate challenges. Emotional intelligence plays a pivotal role in shaping our success, happiness, and fulfillment. It enables us to understand and manage our own emotions, connect with others on a deeper level, and respond to the world around us with wisdom and empathy. With emotional intelligence, we can build stronger relationships, lead with impact, and live a more balanced and meaningful life. Handling conflict is an inevitable part of life, whether it arises in personal relationships, at work, or in social interactions. Conflict is not inherently negative. It is often a catalyst for growth, better understanding, and resolution. However, how we handle conflict can significantly affect the outcome, shaping our relationships, reputations, and emotional well-being. Approaching conflict with a calm, thoughtful, and constructive mindset can turn challenging situations into opportunities for connection, learning, and improvement. On the other hand, mishandling conflict can lead to deeper misunderstandings, resentment, and long-term damage to relationships. The first key to handling conflict effectively is maintaining emotional self-regulation. When emotions run high during a disagreement, it's easy to let anger, frustration, or hurt dictate our responses. However, reacting impulsively often worsens the situation. Instead, it's important to take a step back, breathe, and give ourselves time to process our emotions before responding. Emotional self-regulation involves recognizing our emotional triggers, understanding why we feel the way we do, and deciding how best to express those emotions in a way that is calm, respectful, and constructive. In moments of conflict, this self-awareness helps prevent knee-jerk reactions, which can escalate tension and derail productive conversation. It's essential to remember that taking a pause before speaking can often make the difference between a successful resolution and a harmful confrontation. Another critical aspect of handling conflict is active listening. Often in disagreements, we are more focused on formulating our response than on truly hearing the other person's point of view. Active listening is the practice of giving full attention to the other person, not interrupting, and genuinely trying to understand their perspective. This means not only listening to the words they say, but also paying attention to their tone, body language, and underlying emotions. When we listen actively, we show respect for the other person's feelings, which can reduce defensiveness and make it more likely that both parties will work together toward a solution. Active listening fosters empathy and helps build trust, which are essential components of resolving conflict in a healthy way. By understanding the other person's needs and concerns, we are better equipped to respond thoughtfully and find common ground. Equally important is communicating assertively rather than aggressively or passively. Assertive communication involves expressing our thoughts, feelings, and needs openly and honestly without aggression or hostility. It is the ability to stand up for ourselves while respecting the rights and feelings of others. In contrast, aggressive communication is driven by the need to dominate or belittle others, often leading to further escalation of the conflict. Passive communication, on the other hand, involves avoiding confrontation altogether or suppressing one's own needs and desires to keep the peace. Neither of these approaches is conducive to resolving conflict. Assertive communication is balanced. It allows us to be clear about our feelings and perspectives while also being respectful and open to the other person's viewpoint. This approach helps to prevent misunderstandings and can pave the way for finding mutually beneficial solutions. It is also crucial to focus on the issue at hand rather than making the conflict personal. Often in the heat of an argument, it is easy to resort to personal attacks or blame, especially if we feel hurt or misunderstood. However, focusing on the person rather than the problem can escalate the conflict and lead to hurt feelings that are hard to repair. Instead, it is more productive to keep the conversation centered on the specific issue or behavior that caused the conflict. Using I statements, such as "I felt hurt when you did X," rather than "you always do this," allows us to express our feelings without attacking or accusing the other person. By focusing on the problem rather than the individual, we can create an environment that is more conducive to problem solving and cooperation. Compromise and collaboration are also essential when handling conflict. In many situations, neither party will be able to get exactly what they want, and it's important to recognize this and be willing to negotiate. Compromise involves finding a middle ground where both parties can make concessions to reach a resolution that is acceptable to all. However, compromise should not mean sacrificing our core values or needs. It is about balancing our own desires with an understanding of the other person's perspective and finding a solution that honors both parties. In some cases, collaboration may be the best approach, where both individuals work together to find a creative solution that satisfies both of their needs. This collaborative mindset requires open-mindedness, flexibility, and a willingness to explore options that might not have been initially considered. By being willing to work together, we transform the conflict from an adversarial situation into an opportunity for mutual problem solving and growth. At times, it may also be necessary to set boundaries during a conflict. Setting clear and respectful boundaries helps maintain a sense of self-respect and ensures that the conversation does not become abusive or harmful. Boundaries may involve taking a break from the conversation when emotions are running high, asking for a respectful tone during the discussion, or agreeing on the specific issues to focus on. Establishing boundaries helps to protect our emotional well-being and ensures that the conversation remains productive rather than devolving into personal attacks or manipulation. By being clear about what is and isn't acceptable in the conversation, we maintain control over the process and prevent the conflict from spiraling out of control. When resolving conflict, it is important to approach the situation with a mindset of curiosity and openness rather than defensiveness. Often, when we are in conflict, we see the situation as a battle to win or lose, which leads to a defensive stance. However, viewing conflict as an opportunity to understand another person's perspective and find common ground is far more productive. Curiosity allows us to ask questions, explore the underlying issues, and gain a deeper understanding of the other person's feelings and needs. It also helps to foster an atmosphere of respect and cooperation, where both parties feel safe to express themselves. When we remain open-minded, we are more likely to find a solution that satisfies both parties and strengthens the relationship in the long run. Finally, sometimes conflict resolution requires forgiveness and letting go of grudges. Holding on to resentment or anger after a conflict can poison a relationship and hinder personal growth. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning bad behavior or forgetting what happened, but it means releasing the negative emotions that hold us back from moving forward. Forgiveness is an act of emotional strength that frees us from the burden of past wrongs and allows us to focus on healing and resolution. It also paves the way for deeper understanding and connection, as it shows that we are willing to move beyond the conflict and nurture the relationship. Handling conflict in a healthy and constructive way can transform difficult situations into opportunities for growth, understanding, and deeper connection. By maintaining emotional self-regulation, practicing active listening, communicating assertively, and focusing on the issue rather than the person, we create a space where conflict can be resolved with respect and empathy. Collaboration, compromise, setting boundaries, and forgiveness further contribute to creating lasting resolutions and strengthening relationships. While conflict may never be easy to handle, developing the skills to navigate it effectively helps to build stronger, more resilient connections with others. In today's fast-paced world, it can be easy to get caught up in the noise of daily life. With the constant influx of information, social media updates, and a never-ending list of tasks and responsibilities, it often feels as though we are pulled in countless directions. Amidst all of this, it can become increasingly difficult to focus on what truly matters. However, the ability to concentrate on what is most important in our lives is a key element to living a fulfilling and purposeful existence. When we direct our energy toward what truly matters, we create a sense of clarity, purpose, and fulfillment. This requires not only self-awareness and intentionality, but also the courage to let go of distractions and make conscious decisions about where we place our time, attention, and energy. One of the first steps in focusing on what truly matters is identifying our values. Our values serve as a compass, guiding our decisions, actions, and priorities. When we are clear about what we value most, whether it be family, personal growth, creativity, health, or making a positive impact in the world, we are better equipped to align our choices with these values. Without this awareness, it's easy to become sidetracked by external pressures, societal expectations, or the desire to please others. For example, we may spend hours on work that doesn't align with our passions or neglect our relationships in pursuit of superficial achievements. By understanding and prioritizing our values, we can begin to make decisions that reflect what matters most to us, allowing us to lead more authentic and meaningful lives. Equally important is understanding the difference between urgent and important tasks. Often, the demands of daily life can create a sense of urgency that pushes us to focus on tasks that feel pressing, but may not contribute significantly to our long-term well-being or happiness. Responding to emails, attending meetings, or handling immediate concerns can easily take up most of our time, leaving little room for the activities and relationships that truly matter. The challenge is not to disregard these urgent tasks altogether, but to recognize that they should not overshadow the deeper, more meaningful pursuits. Focusing on what truly matters means being willing to push aside the noise of daily life and allocate time to the things that align with our core values, passions, and long-term goals. In addition to identifying values and distinguishing between urgency and importance, focusing on what truly matters also involves cultivating mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present and engaged in the current moment, without judgment or distraction. When we are mindful, we are able to experience life more fully, paying attention to our thoughts, emotions, and surroundings without letting our minds wander or get lost in worries about the past or future. This kind of focus allows us to savor the things that matter most, whether it's spending quality time with loved ones, pursuing a hobby, or working toward a meaningful goal. Mindfulness helps us avoid getting caught up in the trivial or fleeting distractions that can cloud our sense of purpose. It allows us to be intentional with how we use our time and energy, making it easier to focus on what is truly meaningful. Furthermore, focusing on what truly matters requires setting boundaries. In order to devote time and energy to the things that are most important, we must learn to say no to things that are not aligned with our values or goals. Boundaries are a form of self-respect and self-care, enabling us to protect our time, energy, and mental health. Saying no can be difficult, especially when we fear disappointing others or feeling guilty for not fulfilling every request. However, by setting clear boundaries, we are better able to create space for the things that truly matter. This might mean saying no to extra work assignments that don't align with our long-term career goals, or limiting time spent on social media to prioritize real, life connections. It's about recognizing that our time and energy are finite resources and choosing to invest them in ways that serve our highest priorities. A significant part of focusing on what matters is also embracing the idea of intentional living. This involves making conscious, deliberate choices about how we spend our time and what we prioritize. Rather than living reactively, responding to every situation as it arises, intentional living encourages us to actively design our lives in a way that reflects our values and goals. It means taking the time to reflect on what we want to achieve and making decisions that align with those aspirations. Intentional living requires discipline and planning, but it also brings a sense of direction and control. It involves creating routines and habits that support our well-being, making time for the things we love, and constantly evaluating whether our actions align with our desired outcomes. Another powerful way to focus on what truly matters is by practicing gratitude. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we don't have to what we already possess. It helps us appreciate the small, everyday blessings that might otherwise go unnoticed. When we are grateful for the relationships we have, the opportunities we've been given, and the simple joys of life, we shift our attention away from the distractions and pressures that can overwhelm us. Gratitude fosters a mindset of abundance where we feel content with what we have rather than constantly striving for more. By focusing on what we are grateful for, we are more likely to prioritize the things that bring us genuine joy and fulfillment. Another aspect of focusing on what truly matters is the willingness to let go of perfectionism. In a world that often values achievement, success, and outward appearances, it can be easy to fall into the trap of trying to be perfect or do everything flawlessly. However, this pursuit of perfection can create unnecessary stress and prevent us from truly enjoying the process of life. Focusing on what matters means letting go of the unrealistic standards we place on ourselves and accepting that imperfection is part of being human. When we release the need to be perfect, we free ourselves from the anxiety and pressure that often accompany it, allowing us to focus more on what truly brings us fulfillment and peace of mind. Focusing on what truly matters also requires letting go of comparison. In the age of social media, it's easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others, whether it's regarding our career, relationships, appearance, or accomplishments. Constantly measuring ourselves against others can lead to feelings of inadequacy and distract us from our own unique journey. By focusing on our own path and measuring our success based on our values and goals, we can stop wasting time and energy on comparison. This shift allows us to embrace our own individuality and take pride in our own achievements, no matter how big or small. Lastly, focusing on what truly matters involves embracing impermanence and accepting that life is constantly changing. In our pursuit of what's important, we may encounter setbacks, losses, and unexpected challenges. These experiences, while difficult, are a natural part of life. By acknowledging the transient nature of life and accepting that not everything will always go according to plan, We free ourselves from the pressure of trying to control everything. This acceptance helps us prioritize what truly brings meaning and joy, making us more resilient when faced with difficult circumstances. In conclusion, focusing on what truly matters is an intentional and mindful process that requires self-awareness, discipline, and the courage to prioritize what aligns with our values. By embracing mindfulness, setting boundaries, living intentionally, practicing gratitude, and letting go of perfectionism and comparison, we create the space to focus on the things that bring true fulfillment. In a world full of distractions, it is up to us to decide where we invest our time and energy. And by doing so, we can cultivate lives that are rich in meaning and purpose. Leadership and wisdom are two qualities that are often intertwined, yet each plays a unique role in shaping the lives of individuals, organizations, and societies. Leadership is the ability to inspire, guide, and influence others toward a common goal, while wisdom is the deep understanding and insight that helps individuals make thoughtful, balanced decisions. While leadership is often seen as a position of power or influence, wisdom is about knowing how to use that power responsibly and effectively. It is through the combination of these two traits that great leaders emerge, those who not only guide others, but do so with a sense of purpose, understanding, and foresight. Leadership, when fueled by wisdom, has the potential to create lasting positive change, foster collaboration, and inspire people to strive for a higher vision. At its core, leadership is about influence. It is not enough for a leader to simply be in charge. They must also inspire trust, respect, and commitment from those they lead. Leadership is most effective when it is driven by a clear sense of purpose and a vision that resonates with others. A leader must not only have a clear understanding of the direction they want to take, but also be able to communicate that vision in a way that motivates and unites people. The ability to articulate a compelling vision is an essential skill in leadership, but it is not enough on its own. A true leader must also be able to demonstrate the behaviors, actions, and values that align with that vision. They must lead by example, showing others what it means to be committed, passionate, and driven toward a common goal. Wisdom, on the other hand, is the ability to make sound decisions based on experience, knowledge, and judgment. It is often said that wisdom comes with age, as individuals accumulate life experiences that help them understand the complexities of human behavior, emotions, and relationships. However, wisdom is not merely a function of age. It is a product of reflection, learning, and a willingness to grow. A wise individual is able to look beyond immediate concerns and consider the long-term implications of their decisions. They recognize that decisions are rarely black and white, and that there are often multiple perspectives to consider. Wisdom allows leaders to see the bigger picture, to understand the interconnectedness of events, and to approach challenges with humility and empathy. The relationship between leadership and wisdom is symbiotic. Leadership without wisdom can lead to rash decisions, poor judgment, and a lack of foresight, while wisdom without leadership can result in inaction or an inability to inspire others to follow. Wisdom enables leaders to make decisions that are not only effective in the short term, but also sustainable in the long term. It encourages leaders to consider the consequences of their actions and to act in ways that promote the well-being of others, even if it requires personal sacrifice or difficult choices. Wisdom also allows leaders to remain calm and composed in times of crisis, offering steady guidance and support to those they lead. In moments of uncertainty, a wise leader can provide clarity and direction, helping others to stay focused on the larger goals and vision. An essential aspect of wisdom in leadership is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. A leader with high emotional intelligence is able to build strong relationships, navigate conflicts effectively, and create a positive and supportive work environment. Emotional intelligence also enables leaders to empathize with the challenges and struggles of those they lead, fostering a sense of trust and respect. Wisdom helps leaders to understand the nuances of human emotions and to respond to situations in a way that takes into account the feelings and perspectives of others. By practicing empathy, self-regulation, and active listening, wise leaders can build stronger, more cohesive teams and make decisions that are both rational and compassionate. Another important aspect of leadership and wisdom is the ability to learn from failure. Failure is an inevitable part of life, and no leader is immune to setbacks. However, a wise leader does not see failure as a personal defeat, but as an opportunity to learn and grow. Wisdom allows leaders to reflect on their mistakes, to understand what went wrong, and to make adjustments for the future. It also enables leaders to maintain a positive attitude in the face of adversity, recognizing that setbacks are temporary and can often lead to valuable lessons. Leaders who embrace failure with grace and resilience inspire their teams to do the same, fostering a culture of learning and continuous improvement. Instead of shying away from mistakes, wise leaders encourage experimentation and innovation, knowing that the path to success is often paved with challenges and obstacles. The ability to make ethical decisions is another key element of wisdom in leadership. In today's complex world, leaders are often faced with difficult choices that require them to balance competing interests, values, and priorities. Wisdom helps leaders navigate these challenges by providing a framework for making decisions that are in line with their moral and ethical beliefs. Wise leaders are guided by principles such as integrity, fairness, and justice, and they strive to make decisions that are not only beneficial to themselves but also to the broader community. They understand that their actions have consequences and that they have a responsibility to act in a way that upholds the values they believe in. By making ethical decisions, wise leaders earn the trust and respect of those they lead, creating a culture of integrity and accountability. One of the hallmarks of effective leadership is the ability to empower others. A wise leader recognizes that their success is not solely a reflection of their own abilities, but is also the result of the contributions of those they lead. Wisdom allows leaders to see the potential in others and to provide the guidance, support, and resources necessary for them to succeed. By empowering others, leaders create a sense of ownership and accountability, which fosters a deeper commitment to the team's goals. Wisdom also enables leaders to recognize that true leadership is not about personal glory or recognition, but about helping others achieve their potential and thrive. Leadership and wisdom are also deeply connected to the ability to remain humble. Humility is the recognition that, despite one's position or achievements, there is always room for growth and improvement. A wise leader is not driven by ego or a desire for power, but by a genuine desire to serve others and to make a positive impact. Humility allows leaders to admit when they are wrong, to seek feedback, and to learn from those around them. It also helps leaders remain open to new ideas and perspectives, fostering a culture of collaboration and inclusivity. By leading with humility, wise leaders create an environment where everyone feels valued, heard, and respected.